Hey, I'm Quinn. I'm the CEO and co-founder here at Sourcegraph, and welcome. We are really excited when we have new teammates join, and I want to run you through a few important things. So we'll talk in person soon, but I recorded this so that you can look at it in advance or after you've started, or you just know what to expect. So let's just get started with the background. Why did we start Sourcegraph? We started it because the way that companies build software is completely broken and we want to fix it. We looked at how companies build software. Byung and I worked inside of JP Morgan and Bank of America. We've worked inside small companies, big companies, and we've seen how software can be built at extremely efficient organizations. So, if you look around, Google and Facebook, for a couple examples, build software 100 times more productively than the average company out there, and they do some things very differently. So at a high level, at Sourcegraph, we want to fix every other company's way of building software, and the first way we do that is by bringing them the same kind of platforms and processes that Google and Facebook engineers have that have made them so successful. That's step one. Step two is to make it so that not just the processes and platforms are better, but the way that we work, the way that software is built and assembled is much better. And that is with the global code marketplace. That's farther along, but we are working our way to get there. So let me show you some good ways to get started to understand what we're doing here at Sourcegraph. We always want to make Sourcegraph have the best way of pitching, the best way of describing our product, and pretty much everything we can written down. So here on our content site, about.sourcegraph.com, we want this to always be the best way to describe what Sourcegraph does and why it's valuable. So here you go. And this is all, of course, external facing. You see a lot of the logos that use us. Some other videos, these will change a lot. And down at the bottom, you'll see our handbook. You will be using this handbook a lot, and you'll also be editing and updating it a lot, because the handbook is not just a manual that describes what we do. It is actually what we do. It is the manifestation of how certain teams operate, and if something's not in the handbook, or if the handbook is out of date, then that's a big problem in general. Helpful place to start is this strategy page. And this talks about why did we start Sourcegraph, what is our mission, how are we going to change the world, what are our constraints. So I'll run you through this. All right, so the purpose is why we started Sourcegraph. And what I said earlier is we started it because the way the companies build software is totally broken. That is what really spurred us to start it. But the higher level thing that we want to work on is, well, we envision a world where everyone is writing code. That world needs to exist. If it doesn't exist, then frankly, we're worried that the only people that can write software, the only people that are determining how the world works in the future is a tiny little subset of the population. So we want to make it so that everyone, everywhere in the world, they can build software really well. And that means all the companies in the world, they can build software at the same level of today's elite companies like Google and Facebook, and that any company in the world has access to the best building blocks of code, and that's where the global code marketplace comes into play. This might seem crazy, is everyone in the world really going to learn how to code? But I am certain that it's felt crazy back in the 1500s to think that everybody would be writing and reading someday, right after the printing press was created. Initially, reading and writing was just for the elites, and they made good use of that, but eventually it spread. And now, basically everyone in the world can read and write, and it's hard to imagine a world where they couldn't do that. We think that coding is a lot more like reading and writing, something that everyone will do, and it's not something like publishing books or something else that only the elite should do. So we both want to make that happen sooner, and we want to prepare the world by building the tools and the kind of marketplace that's necessary for that to be a thriving outcome. So to get us closer to solving this problem that we have identified in our purpose, we want to give every organization the ability to build software with the efficiency and quality of today's elite tech companies. That means primarily giving them the processes and the platform with search and automation and what will come next. After we accomplish this mission, we are, very early on, but we've got a great record so far. So after we accomplish this mission, then our mission will probably become something more around the global code marketplace. How do we make it so that if you are a developer anywhere in the world, that you don't have to be rewriting the same code over and over again, which is probably kind of boring and it's not really that innovative. It's reinventing the wheel. But instead, you can write code that really engages your mind that 50,000 companies around the world might need. For example, a really good Go LDAP library or Python Django authentication or something. These things that are not being created in open source out of the goodness of people's hearts with as much quality or as quantity as the world needs. All right, our values. These are the things that we find special as an organization, and they are constraints when we're working on our mission. So people, journey, and progress, let's go into them. We like to think about them as constraints because when there's a mission, we really want to mean what we write down. But obviously, we don't want to do things that are evil in accomplishing the mission. So how do we encode that and make it so that what's written down is actually accurate and comprehensive? And this is where the values come in. Our values are people, journey, and progress. And people means all of the people that we are affecting. We want to do right by them. Our teammates, we want to do the right thing by them because we make a long-term investment in everyone who joins Sourcegraph. If they start out in one role and they decide a year later that they want to be in another role, we want to support them because we made that long-term bet on them. And also, for all the people in the world who are using our product or who are affected by technology, we have them in mind when we are building Sourcegraph. We want to work on making it so that they have a good world in the future, and we don't want to do anything that treats them instrumentally, that treats them as a means, not an end. Our second value is journey. This is the idea that we're working on something really hard, and it's not always sunshine and rainbows. You're not every day pushing something that just works, and then the next day you push something else and that gets another million users. It's tough. And so it's important to recognize that when you are working on something really hard, sometimes you make one step forward and two steps back. And that's okay because you learn and you work with a team and you build relationships with our teammates and with our users that will help you in the future. And finally, progress. This is the idea that, again, when you're working on something really hard, you need to make continuous progress toward it. If you push just a little bit every single day, then you're going to get where you need to go. So these are our values. Our vision for the product is primarily that developers will have a single place to go while they're coding to answer their questions and to get unblocked. Think of a developer who's over on their other monitor, they're typing away and they get stuck and they say, man, how do I do this inside of my company? I know we've written this code, or our site is down. Anything related to their software, we want them to have one place to go. In the same way that Google is the place you go in general to answer questions about everyday life. Where should we go to dinner tonight? How do I get there? If I'm looking for some product to buy, where can I find it? Google is just that place you go. Of course, Google doesn't have access to your code and it doesn't have a specialized understanding of the structure of your code like we do. So we want Sourcegraph to be that place where you go when you have coding related questions. And then the second part of the vision is for engineering leaders and internal tools teams. We want Sourcegraph to be that single place where they can automate and extend parts of the development workflow. So if they want to make it so developers never experience this certain problem, committing secrets to their code, then Sourcegraph is how they can do it. If they want to make it so that every engineer, while they're coding, they can see certain metrics about their code, such as code churn, then we want Sourcegraph to be that single place that they can plug that in, and every developer will get it everywhere. So from here, you can see direction, which is our product roadmap. You can see our goals. That's for this quarter. What is everyone working on to make progress toward our mission? And go and check those out for sure. I'll go back to the handbook and point out a few other things, and then you are on your way. Handbook usage, that just describes how to use this handbook, how to edit it, and a few things. One really important thing with the handbook is sometimes if you ask a question, someone will link you to the handbook as the answer. That means that person's probably pretty proud that we are a company that has written things down. That's really helpful because if you are working and you have a question, maybe the person who is perfect to answer that is online and ready to help, but maybe they're not. And so by writing things down, it means that you can make progress without requiring everyone to be online at all times. So if someone replies with a link to the handbook, that does not mean, oh, you shouldn't have asked that question or you should have known that. It doesn't mean anything negative. It just means that, hey, it's pretty cool we had this written down and here's the best answer written down in a single form. That's this. Also, be sure to check out how to update the handbook. Everyone should do this regularly because everyone owns processes, important things inside the company, and when those things change, as they often do because we move quickly, then we want to make sure that those are updated. So check out this editing page. And finally, the search. If you are looking for anything, then check here first. So if I want to see all the stuff about our releases, monthly releases, search for release, boom. And you can figure out that it's documented on how to set this up for a little search shortcut. So all you have to do is say HB in your browser and then release, and it takes you right there. So get that set up. You will use it a lot. All right, that's the high-level intro. I look forward to talking with you in person and welcome you on the team. We are so excited to have each person, every single person who joins our team. We have put through a very intensive process, so you are going to be a great fit, and look forward to talking soon live.